Hi, my name is Bertha Barrezo, and I am the managing shareholder of Barrezo and Barrezo, based out of Orlando, Florida, with offices in Tampa. Hear my story of when I dropped out to becoming a successful lawyer. My name is Bertha Barrezo, and I'm the managing shareholder at Barrezo and Barrezo. We're an employment litigation firm based out of Florida. Most people think my trajectory to getting here is a traditional one, where I got good grades, went to good schools, and I'm a lawyer. That's definitely not how it happened. It started with me dropping out of high school in 10th grade, eventually getting my GED, and the rest is history. So I was born in Daytona Beach, Florida, raised primarily there most of my life, and I was raised by my grandmother, who also raised 5 other grandkids, and I was the only girl of 5 amongst 5 other boys. There was really no room for crying, in the sense that if I would fall down and skin my knee when we're playing football, for example, I had to dust myself up, get up, and keep going. In my case, it served me fairly well because there were a lot of obstacles with becoming a lawyer, starting with the own obstacle that I created, my own, which was dropping out of high school in 10th grade and having the experience of having obstacles. I really never slowed down and let any of them become a complete roadblock. For me, they were simply things I would take a look at and I would figure out how to get through it, and that's exactly what I did. I gravitated towards law at a really young age. I would say around the age of 11, I had the idea that I wanted to be a lawyer. I was very argumentative as a child, and I had a very strong personality, and so I knew that I wanted to be a voice for someone, and law naturally appealed to me in that sense. But I didn't think that I had what it took to become a lawyer. In other words, I didn't have the perfect grades. I didn't go to the right schools, and my journey just wasn't a straight path. So I dabbled in a few other things. At first I wanted to be a fashion designer, I wanted to be a civil engineer, and then I eventually landed on teaching. And so I taught for 2 years middle school, but I never let go of that dream of wanting to be a lawyer. And so in my last year of my undergrad college, I said, what the heck, let me apply and see what happens. And so I did. I applied to several law schools, and I didn't get in any of them. So I decided to get my master's in English education, and I ended up teaching for a few years afterwards. And in between those years, I decided to apply to law school again. And the second time I applied, still wasn't admitted. So I tried again. I taught for my first year of teaching, and applied and said, I'm just gonna keep applying till they let me in. So I applied a third time, and I didn't get in. So I decided after the third time I would start a family. My husband and I at the time decided to get pregnant, and so I had my oldest child. And lo and behold, that's when I get admitted to law school. So the same year that I decided to have my son, I actually was admitted to all the law schools that I applied to, and also got a full scholarship. And so again, the obstacles were there, but for me it was just kind of looking at them and figuring out how to overcome them. For law school, I decided to go to Stetson University in St. Petersburg, Florida. And the reason why I chose Stetson Law School primarily was because of their generosity in terms of my tuition. And so not only did I get an outside scholarship for my tuition, but Stetson matched that scholarship, and I was able to go for completely free. And on top of that, I was also given a scholarship for living expenses. So obviously the finance piece was a big component, but really the other big decision point for me was when I met their admissions representative, who took the time to hear my story first and foremost, because Stetson is not the type of school that just looks at, on paper, your grades or the school that you went to. They like to look at the person as a whole, and so part of their admission process was interviewing candidates. And so they interviewed me, and I told them my story, as messy as it was, not really knowing if it was going to help me or hurt me. And I think at the end, it did end up helping me. And so I really appreciated Stetson's, at the time, what I think was sort of out of the box admission criteria, and getting to know the applicants. And I also, not to mention, I loved the school. I loved the location. I loved the quaintness of it. And I loved the intimacy of being in a school with a fairly smaller amount of students, in the sense that I could really get to know my classmates and feel supported by the faculty. When I graduated from law school, quite honestly, I wasn't really clear on what I wanted to do. At the time, I just wanted a job, to be quite honest. I clerked at a firm in Orlando my second year of law school and really enjoyed it. They had primarily an insurance defense practice, but they did have education law within their practice. And so that drew me towards getting a job with that firm, because I thought in my mind I could, even if I started in one practice area, I could eventually migrate to education law. But it didn't quite work out that way with my first job. I was a bit naive, I think, in understanding really the business model for law firms. And so I started looking at other practice areas and other firms to see what else would appeal to my desire to be in education. And so I stumbled upon a firm that did primarily employment. It was a boutique firm, and I expressed to them my interest in doing education law. And so I ended up getting the job, and I just fell in love with employment law. And it's, no day is ever the same, no case is ever the same, no facts are ever the same. And I really enjoy helping business owners and people navigate workplace issues. It really speaks to who I am as a person and some of my values. And so I've stuck with it, and I've been doing it for, I would say, almost 20 years now. The one thing that drives me as a lawyer is the ability to, number one, be a voice for people. Number two, to help people navigate the legal system. And then number three, just helping, period. I know that personally, from my own experience, employment or one's job is a huge pillar in anyone's life. And when there's a disruption in that area, people need help, and they need answers to probably 100 million questions that they're having as it relates to navigating the workplace relationship. And so I've learned that this area really focuses a lot on communication. I like to think that I'm big on communication, and so for me, what in addition to those things that I named drive me, but for me, really, it's the communication piece. It's being able to speak to other business owners and, hey, tell me what's going on, what's your issue, and then finding a solution that will help them. Sometimes it's not the solution that they want, or it's a painful solution, but it's something to get them through some of the challenges that they face. And I really get a lot of satisfaction being able to help people. As a lawyer, my specialty, I would say, is being a fixer. I have operated under this whole survival mode for the past 22 years in my practice, meaning I'm really good at solving problems. If somebody calls me, hey, I'm having a fire right now, please help. I'm really good at thinking about out-of-the-box solutions and helping. figure out how to navigate through a really tricky situation. So as a result of not only enjoying fixing things, but being good at it, I've slowly tried to add to my practice preventative work so that I'm not always being a fixer, but more so, hey, I know that these problems are going to come up. Let's prevent them and let's avoid them from even happening. And I'm finding that in and of itself is just as rewarding as fixing a problem that's on fire. So thank you for taking the time to listen to my story today. If you're a business owner or an employer or have any business needs as it relates to the workplace, click the link below and give us a call.